In today's video, we'll be discussing about load balancing and what is load balancing in the backend application and what are the use cases of a load balancer in case of scaling your application. Now, let's assume that you have a client C1 that is sending the network request from C1 to the server S1. That server S1 have, let's say for example, one e-commerce application. That e-commerce application is responsible for serving the request coming from the C1. In a typical day, let's assume that you have incoming request of 10 RPS or request per second that is coming to the server S1. But in the worst cases, that request can go to 100 to 100k or to 1000k requests per second. Like if you have a special discount day, if you have the Black Friday, and if you have any kind of a special deal opened, then you can also get this kind of request volume increased. Now, with increased number of client requests coming to the same server, that's become a problem. What is the solution then? The solution is to increase the capacity of the same server that is staying on the right side. That means vertically scaling the server. We can scale the server vertically, means adding more RAM, more CPU powers, and more storage. This approach is called the vertical scaling approach. But this approach has a problem. Ultimately, you will have to face a deadlock. That means you will eventually reach a point where you will not be able to attach more RAM, more CPU, and more storage capacity to a single server. They come up with the proposal that you can add more server like that way. This approach is called horizontal scaling, or adding more server of same kind of application. The same e-commerce application you have running into this server, and this server. But now for the client, that becomes a challenge to find out the specific server they should reach out to. That's a problem, right? For the same application, they have 3 different replicas. Now to solve that problem, the load balancer steps in. The load balancer takes the responsibility of forwarding the request, let's say for example in our case, R1 to the specific server into the downstream. Now it's become the responsibility of this load balancing layer to forward the traffic to any of the specific server that you have prepared as a replica. Now this load balancing layer can be Nginx, can be any other Nginx alternative. Or this load balancing layer can be used by taking the managed service from Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud.